Hi, happy lockdown, everybody. So this evening I'm going to be doing the first of a series of lockdown lives, and I'm going to be focusing on what we are able to do during lockdown to make the most of it, but also we're really going to be looking at what's the wonderfulness that everyone keeps talking about these micro weddings and intimate weddings. If you're one of those people that can't really decide what to do because there are so many uncertainties, I need you to stay tuned in today because I've got the most fabulous girl called Sarah Butler, who married Chris in September, who is going to be joining us. And she's going to be telling us all about her journey from big fancy wedding down to having that smaller wedding. So I'm just going to invite her in. So Sarah is joining. Sorry, she was Butler, now Marsh. I got that wrong. Sorry. How rude, giving away the maiden name. So let's just you will be able to hear her story. It's quite a story, and it's very entertaining the way it's all happened. So hopefully you'll get lots of nuggets of information. So here she is. Hello, Sarah.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I have to apologise. I referred to you as Sarah Butler, and then I remembered you got married.
I literally keep doing exactly the same thing.
You mentioned it the other day. You couldn't get used to being a Mrs. Oh.
Yeah, it's really weird. So I'm just getting used to the. Hang on, I'm just throwing my phone out. Sorry. I'm just getting used to the Sarah Marsh bit, but the being Mrs. Marsh is even weirder.
Yeah, exactly. So many new things in your life. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful. I think, it's down to the brilliant B&H photography that we made contact with each other. They were your photographers at your little intimate micro, whichever word we're using, wedding. So big, huge thanks. And what a wonderful human you are. So what I want to do to start with is for you to introduce kind of your love story. So tell me about you and Chris, what your backgrounds are, and kind of the story of how you met and things, so everyone kind of gets an idea of who they're hearing from.
So Chris and I both got military backgrounds. So I was a military nurse for 12 years. And Chris is currently still serving. He's a pilot in the RAF.
Yeah.
So we were living in Cheltenham, both separately. We met in Cheltenham, and I think he put it perfectly in his speech. Actually, he tried to keep hold of his independence for quite a long time, but eventually I managed to prize it away from him.
It's mine.
And he proposed to me in September 2018.
Wow.
So yeah, we'd been living together for a couple of years, I would say, by then.
Yeah.
I'd left the military and now nursing in a home care company.
Yeah.
But now I'm the military wife, which is a very different side of where I've been before. We were living in Cheltenham, and we kind of had this dream of this Cheltenham wedding at the ladies' college, which would have been amazing.
Yeah.
The little church right in the middle of town, which I would walk past when I was going into town and think, this is where we're going to get married, and then we're going to walk down to the ladies' college. It's going to be fabulous.
So romantic. And Cheltenham, for anyone that doesn't know Cheltenham, it is one of the most picturesque, gorgeous, beautiful towns out there. I adore it there.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah. So then, so the plan was a big wedding, lots of guests, all of your military friends from both sides, all your families. And I mean, what kind of number were you looking at when you first started thinking about wedding planning?
So when we looked at all our military friends all over the country, and you can't really decide between people like that. If you kind of served with people, you've served with them, you want them to be there to share your day.
Yeah.
And we were looking at 150. As soon as you've invited one couple out of a group, you've got 20 other people to invite. So you can't invite my military friends and not Chris's. And
exactly. And I think, you know, I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you're in your 30s like me. And,
Yeah,
you know, I got married in my 30s. And by that point, pretty much everyone's coupled up. So you can't just do single invites. It's always a pair and maybe a few kids as well along the way. So the numbers do add up really quickly, don't they?
yeah. And so what we kind of decided is we did want this big wedding with everyone able to come, but the
Yeah.
way we would compromise on was we wouldn't have a sit down meal. So we were
Yeah.
thinking, we'll have a big military party. It will be amazing. So we'll get married a bit later in the day, and then have kind of street food vans,
Yeah.
a big drinks reception, and
Right.
loads, yeah, dancing and a big party. That was what it was going to be.
Brilliant. And what was your ideal date at that point?
So we were planning for, I think we were planning for May 2020 actually.
Okay.
Originally,
Right.
it was going to be May, and
And
we
then what happened?
well, yeah, we booked the venue. So we booked the ladies' college. We hadn't paid a deposit or anything. Yeah, so many things seem to have happened since we decided on that. I think it was just we started planning for a family,
Yeah.
and thought, well, God, we don't want to plan this big wedding, which is 18 months in advance.
Yeah.
When we don't really know where we'll be at the family stage, then it might
Yeah.
be completely not what we want by then. And how
Mm-hmm.
do we know? And you know, we were trying for a baby for a bit, and then we're thinking, oh, now do we stop because there's a wedding coming, or do we carry on? And I might not be able to attend because I might be giving birth. It just
Somehow that just seems the way your life has gone, that's just the way it would have ended up.
so it became like stressful, and we didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
So and we thought, well, how can we do it so that we don't have this not inviting some and inviting others, and we just don't know where we're going to be.
Yeah.
Thought, right, let's go away. Let's
Right.
run away, and let's use all of the money to go on an amazing holiday, and we'll
So
get married.
I'm just going to pause you there because basically you had to go through what everyone else is thinking
Yeah,
at the moment of how do we go from these super big weddings that we're all used to where you've got 100+ guests, and suddenly how do you tell everyone actually you're not invited even though we've kind of got your hopes up that you're coming to our wedding. And so
yeah,
you kind of went through that without needing COVID to get in your way. It was, you know, it was baby planning that was
yeah.
the thing that changed your mind.
Yeah, and it was really hard because, you know, I'd asked 4 bridesmaids to be my bridesmaid. um, I think some of them might have joined actually.
Watch what you say about how you chose.
So I'd asked 4 bridesmaids. I'd asked my flower girls, you know, and Chris had asked his sister to be his best person.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Again, because he couldn't choose.
Well, that's honest.
So it was like we had to really go, ooh, yeah, well, oh, Lucy's saying me.
Yeah, me. She's listening.
Yeah, we had to say, you know, well, yeah, we're sorry, but it's kind of, you're not coming. We were actually going to Vegas for a few days, and we were going to go to Fiji to get married. So we did say to people, by the way, if you want to come to Vegas and have a party with us, you're more than welcome. So that was then the plan. So
Yeah.
we're really looking at our parents are so supportive. They
Right.
like, oh, you can't get married without us or anything. And
No, they made it easy for you to make that decision.
they did, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
for as long as our parents were okay with it, then it didn't really matter what everybody else
Yeah.
kind of thought, because we just wanted to get married, and we had all of this other stuff going on. So we were really looking forward to that.
And so when was Fiji meant to happen?
Fiji was meant to happen in September this year.
Okay. And that was going, and were any of your friends going to come out to Vegas? Had anyone signed up?
Well, I don't think anyone actually believed it was going to happen by this time, because obviously March, people had said, yeah, definitely. But then obviously the world changed completely. So
Absolutely.
by that point, I think people thought, well, and we weren't, at that point, we were thinking it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we were just coming to terms with that, I think.
Yeah.
But I think some people, had it gone ahead, yeah, there would have definitely been some people there.
Yeah. Oh, that okay. So the plan was September in Fiji. And then what happened? Well, then COVID happened. That
So,
was the next big event in your life.
yeah, so COVID happened, and by the end of June, really, we were saying it's not going to happen. What are we
Yeah.
going to do? Just around the same time, I found out I was pregnant. So,
Huge congratulations.
so actually, then again, priorities like didn't want to travel, but at that point,
Yeah.
didn't want to, but still, just really just wanted to get married.
Yeah.
It felt like we'd been talking about it and the plan, and
It'd
I
been
mean,
a concept for so long that it needed to be a reality.
yeah, and our poor friends and family can't keep up. It's like a different plan every week. It just needed, yeah, we just, all that mattered to us by this point is we'd already, I guess, gone through that everyone else is going through, having to change from this big wedding,
Yeah.
and okay, it's just going to be us. And it
Yeah.
was hard to think about that. So then when there was another plan brought into the mix, I was like, oh, okay, have some people there.
Yeah.
That was nice. But I guess going from lots to none,
To some.
adding a few in, it felt quite nice.
Yeah. It's also difficult because I think one of the things that people, that couples talk to me about being one of the hardest things is how do you decide? I think going from huge to none is one decision that's quite black and white and quite easy, whereas going to a few is really grey. And, we've already spoken about everyone's got a spouse and, everyone's got kids and, you've got a very liberal, let's call them family in their minds about whether they need to be at the wedding or not. But probably when it comes to being on home soil and pretty local, then they're probably a little bit more like, well, actually, we would like to be there. It's okay going off to Fiji and nobody being there, but if somebody's there, then as your mum or your dad, I really want to be there. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think, getting to that point is really tough. So how did you guys get to that point of deciding? So how many were you allowed at your wedding? So you were in September, weren't you?
Yeah, so we were in September. So going through the planning of the wedding, we were like,
Yeah.
we were a bit cautious of thinking, if things change, we might not be able to 30. So, do we want 30? And of course, that has to include like your photographers and the registrars. And so we were cautious of not ever going to like our max, I think. So we planned to have 25 to the day.
Yeah.
And then 15 to the evening.
Yeah. Okay. And just to quickly jump in now with 15, just so that other people know, it doesn't include the staffing. So before, when it was a 30, it did include those suppliers, whereas now you're allowed them on top of, well, not right now, as of a couple of days ago, you were allowed them on top of your 15. But yeah, so you went for kind of 25, you said, didn't you? 24, 25. Yeah.
So obviously we had to be really strict. So we said parents, siblings, and then we invited our auntie and uncles to the day, which was really, and then our best friends. So amazingly, like my 4 bridesmaids could come.
Yeah.
And their partners and kids, which to be fair, they were very happy about.
Yeah. So, great excuse to have a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Lucy, who's on here, she brought her little girl who's my goddaughter, who was my flower girl as well.
Aww.
And then Chris had his best friends, and so yeah, it was just really small and perfect. So I can't now having the big wedding, and equally I can't imagine having the no one there wedding.
Yeah, so it was perfect for you. Yeah. So let's talk about the wedding then. So you made some very quick decisions, I believe. I think you planned the whole thing in 6 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, and for 2 of those weeks I was on holiday. So
this is bonkers, but I love it. So 4-week wedding planning. You did it yourself. So huge props to you for that, while also working in the care industry. So we know how tough this year's been for you, just as an industry anyway. And I believe during lockdown Chris was away as well, wasn't he? So
yeah
been an odd time to be doing so much and planning a holiday as well. So in those 4 weeks, tell me about kind of how you prioritized what were the things that really mattered to you, because obviously when you're planning a big wedding you've got a huge list of different things. You've got bands, you've got flowers, you've got cake, you've got catering, you've got dresses, you've got bridesmaids dresses, you've got the groom's, you've got so many things to think about: hair, makeup, photography, videography. How did you narrow down on what, you know, especially as your suppliers counted to your numbers, how did
Yeah.
you figure out what were the ones that really were value, you know, value to you, and that were the ones that you really needed to invest in?
Well, I think that number one on the list for me was photographer. Um,
Okay.
we were so lucky with the girls that we found. They were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It was, I
Which is
think,
B&H, that are based in Oxfordshire. So they were local to your venue. Oh yeah, tell us about
yeah,
your venue as well. Make sure you cover
yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll start there actually. So that was again like had to be quite a quick choice because we kind of knew September, and then we were thinking, oh wow, I think there's some legal stuff we have to do. I think
Yeah.
we have
What is that legal bureaucracy thing we got to do?
to do some stuff, and I think we only had 2 weeks to get that process
You
done.
would have done, yeah.
So that was all a bit like to the wire, but we we looked online. We're new to the area that we now live in, so we
Yeah.
didn't really know places. But Chris found this great place, the Crazy Bear in Stadhampton.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go and have a look. And we
Which,
did.
if anyone is from Oxford, which I am, then you spent many a boozy lunch or dinner at the Crazy Bear in Southampton and kind of stumbled out and had a lot of fun there. Their cocktails are lethal but wonderful. So, and they've got Prosecco on tap. So we're, you know, I think everyone needs to pay it a visit, especially after what they did for you as your
Yeah,
wedding. So yeah,
it was
carry
amazing.
on.
I think we were lucky because yeah, we didn't have a date booked in September, but COVID, so no
Yeah.
one was doing weddings, and they had a lot of cancellations. And so we said, "Have you got this date free? We'd really like a small wedding, and what can you do?" And there were loads of options of rooms, and it was just so easy to
That's
plan with
good.
them. And
Yeah.
there were so many options that we could have. Um,
Yeah.
we we decided that yeah, this is the right place. Probably like that's okay. Um, and then started to plan. So the photographers were the next thing. Again, really lucky that people had the date free.
Yeah. Because you
And
also had a Saturday, didn't you?
yeah, it was a Saturday. It
Which
was a
is
Saturday
just incredible.
in September. We just as if it was free. It just felt crazy. But the
Yeah.
thing we probably as well because the industry is so different now.
Yeah.
We were able to have people for a few hours rather than a full day package.
Yeah.
We were like probably a bit more flexibility with the venue as well.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really great. And then the things that didn't really matter to us but actually turned out to be great is a cake. We weren't going to have a cake, and then
Right.
I have to have a cake. I'm making you a cake. So we said okay, fine. So that was done for us,
Yeah.
and then in the end, we actually found out that the baby is a girl the day before the wedding,
Oh, yay.
which was lovely
Oh.
as well. And I think flowers, again, really local because I was doing it myself. I didn't have long. I was,
Yeah.
and
You were planning it all with, you know,
yeah,
in a new area very quickly, and, you know, with other priorities in your life, like a new baby. Sorry, another call just came through there. But yeah, so you had so many other priorities going on in your life at that time that really, you know, planning a wedding kind of wasn't your biggest priority in a way. So you had to make some snappy decisions.
yeah. So the flowers were really minimalist, and probably had we had. I love flowers. When I
Yeah.
left the military, I actually did a flower course as part of my.
Oh, wow.
So I love flowers, and actually probably if I'd have had someone to plan it for me, I would have like gone big on the flowers. But my
Yeah.
absolutely lovely, and we had some just small table displays, and that was from the Flower Pot in Brackley. Again,
Lovely.
really local, so that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the food was all obviously at the Crazy Bear, and the music we just had their background music, which
Yeah.
was correct because it's a really nice vibe there.
Yeah.
And then we had a Spotify playlist for me walking down the aisle.
Oh, and tell everyone about walking down the aisle, what you did, because I thought this was really gorgeous. Given COVID restrictions, what
Yeah.
your decision-making process was about that.
So the big wedding that we planned, I always thought all through like my adult life that
Yeah.
uncle would walk me down the aisle. And it was kind of known in my family that this is what would happen. In fact, I call him my dunkle because he's my dad's uncle.
I
He's
love that.
and he's just great. So that was always like the plan, I guess. And I think sometimes you get so fixated on the things that you always thought were going to happen that
Yeah.
it's so difficult to see the joy in all of the other things that could happen if you think in a different way.
Yeah.
And so COVID restrictions said that my uncle would have to walk a metre away from me with a mask on. So it was pointless.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it's not the same.
That's not sentimental in the same way. Yeah.
So what we actually did was I didn't want, although I'm an independent woman, I'm quite happy to walk down on my own. Equally, like it's a big thing to do. But I also didn't want Chris to see me before the wedding.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I'll walk you." In fact, when I said to him, "My uncle's not going to walk me down the aisle," he said, "You don't need to worry about anything anymore. I'll come and get you. I'm like, here. I've got you." So I was like, "Oh, bless him."
So sweet.
Did is I walked to the end of the aisle, and then Chris was standing obviously at the end of the aisle. He just walked up and got me and walked me down, which was just so lovely.
Oh.
And I think it kind of set the tone for the day. Like everyone at that point just blubbed.
I can imagine. I almost fell and I wasn't even there.
It was a really lovely moment.
That is so special. And I think it's a really lovely and heartwarming example of where you look at, you know, what restrictions are in place and you go, right, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to just start our tradition and make this our wedding rather than what everyone else has always done.
Yeah.
And really thinking a bit more creatively about how you can embrace the restrictions and traditions at the same time. So you're still walking down the aisle, you're still with, you know, somebody by your side, but you know, it's now, you know, the guy that's going to look after you, as you said, which I think is incredible. You know, it's a really lovely way of looking at it and making sure that those restrictions don't get in the way of you having that very special moment, which I think, you know, most girls grow up imagining all their lives, don't they? That moment they walk down the aisle.
Yeah. It honestly was one of my favourite things in the end. That he did that, and I would have never have experienced that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's some gorgeous photos and video you sent me of this, so I'm going to share it on my Instagram stories afterwards so everyone else can see it, because it's such a beautiful moment. I think another thing that you mentioned was around what having that smaller wedding enabled you to do, where your budget kind of went a little bit broader than it might have done otherwise. So I think you were able to get suites at the Crazy Bear for all of your family. Is that right? Have I got that right? Yeah.
And our best friends, like, were able to stay there with us, and then the other people, like our siblings, we paid for their accommodation just down the road. The Crazy Bear only had the about 5 or 6 suites left, so we basically got everything that they had.
What you could.
Yeah, and then the rest they all stayed together in a B&B down the road. So that was really. And we also paid for everyone's alcohol, so I don't think really people bought that many drinks.
Yeah. And had you had that 150 wedding, you never would have been able to have a free bar the whole night, presumably.
And the food was incredible at the Crazy Bear. Obviously, before we were thinking street food, it would have been like a really kind of low budget per head, but this wasn't. You know, we went all out with the Thai buffet, and it was so nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us, did you go English or Thai?
Yeah, we went Thai. It was just amazing.
It's so good there, isn't it?
Yeah,
brilliant. So you had this amazing time, and then you what did you decide to do about the honeymoon?
So obviously there's not really an opportunity to do much honeymooning.
Yeah.
And then Chris is adamant this was not our honeymoon, But before the wedding, we obviously we had all the time planned anyway because we were going to be in Fiji. So we thought, well, we definitely want to go somewhere, and we've always wanted to go to Scotland and drive around Scotland and see some of the beautiful beaches up there. So the opportunity pre-wedding, and we actually got a camper van, and we went to a friend in Aberdeen and got a camper van in Aberdeen and drove the Scottish Highlands. It was just absolutely incredible. So for our wedding, we were really relaxed because we had 2.5 weeks, and I think that there was like that was a really good thing for us. It didn't really massively matter that we went back to work straight after the wedding, because we just know that for that weekend we were just so chilled, and everything was just perfect.
That's so lovely. That really is. So tell me a little bit some more about the planning. So Crazy Bear were fabulous because they could do catering, drink, accommodation, ceremony and reception in the same location, which made it really and they had all the furniture and props and things. So that made it a lot easier. I mean, I think it was really important what you said actually about the cake, because I think a lot of people would go, well, do we need a cake? There aren't that many of us there. And a bit like you did, but actually it's really symbolic, a bit like walking down the aisle. It's one of those things that you're never going to have a wedding cake on any other day in your life. So actually, however different it might be from what the 150 person wedding might have had, having some symbolic wedding cake, I think, is actually a really special addition to the day. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I'm really thankful for it now because I could freeze it, and I'm pregnant and I'll be like eating it most days. It's brilliant. I think, again, you know, I've always thought, oh, I don't know why I need a cake, but it, just my friend by saying, oh, I'm going to make it for you. You should have one. And my mum had always told me I should have one. It was a really nice moment. And actually, it was more the more special because we kind of used it as a secret gender reveal, which was really sweet.
Yeah, I love that. That's so special.
So beautiful. My friend had never made a wedding cake before. So.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That is a good friend to keep. And then your dress. So obviously, usually the lead time on a dress is months and months and months and months. And we always advise our brides to get their dress organised as soon as possible once they've chosen their venue. But clearly, you only had a few weeks because of the venue. You had a little bump happening, and you were away for some of your planning time, and you probably couldn't get a bridal appointment, I assume, because when you were planning, we're still, you know, the bridal boutiques were still closed. So tell me, how did you get around that?
Well, I mean, originally when we had the 150 person wedding, I found this incredible dress, and it was a lady in Cheltenham that makes her own dresses, and it was antique lace. It was just beautiful. I had this dress in my head, and nothing was ever going to beat it. And I knew I couldn't have that dress. So I thought, well, let's have a look at the high street. Let's have a look what's online. And I think as well, before I like to keep fit, like I'm quite active, and so I was pregnant, my body was changing, and I knew that probably the dress that I'd always had in my head, it wasn't going to be the dress that would work with a bump, or part of a bump, especially when people are like, is she pregnant? Is she not?
Well, didn't some people find out on your wedding day that you were pregnant? I decided I'd have a look around. So I ended up probably having shares in ASOS. I had dresses, it's 10 ASOS dresses, and I found one that worked with the bump. It was lovely. Like it wasn't that, you know, expensive dress that I'd always had in my head, but ultimately other things mattered more than that. Really lovely. And I think, you know, I've seen the photos, and some, you know, I shared some of your photos yesterday on Instagram, and I think, you know, if you look closer you can see the bump, but you know, obviously it was quite small, but still, if you'd had a really fitted dress it would have been a lot more apparent, but it could also have been that you'd had a big bowl of pasta. So I think, you know, having something that just is subtle but, you know, pays homage to what's going on is a really lovely way to do it. And that was one of the great things about that dress. And I think you know, when you're having these smaller weddings, I think, you know, if you can have, you know, the dress of your dreams, fabulous, but sometimes timeframes mean that you can't. You know, in the past week, a lot of people have had to speed up their weddings, you know, that they were planning on in a month's time, having them in the past couple of days before lockdown started. And for them, it's like, right, we just need to make some really quick decisions. And we need to make sure that it isn't a, you know, a letdown, but it's just a change of track. And I think, you know, you said something to me on when we spoke before, where you said you really focused on what you could do rather than what you couldn't do. And I think, you know, for people to get their mindset like that is really powerful, because then you're embracing it all and going, right, okay, you know, for you, I can't have my antique lace dress. That's not ideal, but it's okay, because you know what, I've got a dress that actually works much better with the bump, and that is, you know, I can try on at home in the comfort of my own space and figure out if this is right for me or not.
Yeah.
So I think quite a few decisions kind of have to go through that process, really, don't they?
Yeah, it's, you can't, I guess when you first think about your wedding day, it should be every single thing being perfect, what you've always imagined.
Yeah.
But you get out of that mindset and actually open your eyes to other things, like other things can be just as great. You don't really need all of that.
Well, like you said, you choose this wedding over the 150 over Fiji at the, you know, it was the best day of your life. And it wasn't despite, you know, that was one thing you also mentioned, was a lot of suppliers would write, oh, you know, we look forward to welcoming you despite what's going on. And you're like, hang on a minute, this is still my big day. There's no despite.
COVID, and I hope you managed to enjoy it despite what's going on. And no one knew about, like, on the day. I mean, social distancing and everything now, and yeah, people were wearing masks, but our guests really styled it out, and they had matching masks.
I love that. Yes, matching masks.
Matching masks, brilliant. So I think, yeah, as soon as you open your kind of mind to that, it certainly didn't feel like we were restricted, because we planned the things that we could do rather than we didn't obsess over the things we couldn't do. We just got on with it. Want to get mad.
I think it's a really important way to think about things. And I think, you know, regardless of whether we were going through COVID or not, I think everyone kind of needs to take a little piece of your advice in that sense, in that, you know, we do, you know, it is kind of Disneyfication of us all, that we've got this ideal of what our wedding day is going to be as, you know, the princess that walks down the aisle to Prince Charming. But, you know, reality is that isn't what happens at most people's weddings. And we all need to kind of take a moment to reflect on, actually, who are we and what's important to us as a couple, as opposed to what does society say we should be doing because we've been brought up, you know, seeing this is what weddings are meant to look like. And once you start reflecting and looking in at what you as a couple really value, then you can start making some slightly more interesting decisions potentially, as you did on your day. And I think you're a really great advocate for that. I think it's fantastic. So now I want you to tell us all about your little flower girl, because she was the star. Although it was your big day, it was really hers.
Oh no, totally stole the show. She, having got the wedding photos back, I was looking through them with Lucy, her mum, and she's in every one. She was just working the room. She was absolutely incredible. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And when I sent the dress, because she obviously understood that she couldn't come to the wedding, even though previously she'd been asked to be a flower girl. I could see how disappointed she was when I told her. Just heartbreaking. So when we made the plan, and I rang Lucy and said, "Oh, can you come?" She said, "Oh, absolutely, we are there." So so I sent her the dress through the post, and Lucy recorded her opening it. And
she's listening, by the way.
Oh, is she? She said, "Mummy, is this what I think it is? Mummy, I can't believe I can go to the wedding." She was like a Cinderella moment. It was so great. So she was an absolute star. And she was really amazing. Everyone just took to her, and she just worked the room. I think she was quite nervous to walk down the aisle, but she styled it out. She was fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think, you know, that makes it all the more special for her memories and yours, you know, and her mum, and, you know, everyone is always going to remember your wedding for all the right reasons, you know, for it being so special for everyone. So I think, you know, the next thing for me would be to think, you know, because I really do think it's a tough decision for people. You know, this is 100% what people struggle with, is figuring out how to make this decision. Do we go ahead now? Do we hold out a bit longer? Do we decide to make it, you know, just family? Do we include friends? You know, things like that. So I think we need to help people with that kind of guidance from your experience. So one of the things that would be really useful is to understand how you figured out a seating plan based on the number of guests that you had, because that's really tough. How do you figure it out if
So
restrictions are a little bit more flexible, like they were when it wasn't all by family household, was it, when you did it? So you could choose, couldn't you?
yeah, so we could have 6 people on a table.
Yeah.
So we very much decided we wanted to sit with our friends. It was our wedding day, and we wanted to have a drink with our friends. And there was no top table, essentially, as a traditional wedding would be. And our wedding was not traditional, so I don't think people expected any kind. I think that when you change things so dramatically from it being traditional, you probably can't have a traditional wedding at the moment. Then, the whole thing, people just take it, I think, and accept it. So on the table with our friends, and then our parents sat together on another table with my friend Lucy and Elizabeth, the flower girl, because I thought, well, they're probably going to be the most behaved people, so we'll put the child over there. And then all our siblings sat together with one of my other friends. So it worked perfectly, really. And like I said, I think at the moment, people are just really grateful and thankful to be able to be at a wedding.
Yeah.
I think their expectations are not the same as they were. Certainly found
I think, you know, one of the things you always hear after somebody's got married is they go, oh my goodness, I had no idea what an honor it was to receive a wedding invite until you've paid for a wedding yourself. And then you go, I get it. That is one heck of a ticket. So when you then get an invite to the most exclusive wedding in the whole of the county, you know, that's a really big deal. And I think everyone that you invited really values that to a point that a normal wedding invite kind of goes to another level in a way. And people feel so honored to have been invited to your wedding. But then you live streamed it, which I think, you know, is what everyone is going down the route of now. All of my couples are asking about it. So tell us exactly how you did your live streams. There's lots of different options out there, but tell us about how you did it.
Again, obviously 4 weeks to organise a wedding and pretty much do it all on our own. I was quite curious to take this task, which he did to an extent, but we set up it on Zoom. So we just set up an account for us both on Zoom, and I did some invites just on my laptop, and then we got everybody's email address, so we sent them an invite. You are invited to witness the wedding of Chris and Sarah via Zoom on such and such a date. I think we sent out 48 invites for couples, obviously. So these are all our friends that were going to be at the 150 wedding.
And presumably they were international, being in the military. People would have been everywhere.
They were all over the place. Anyone was actually away. And my friend Hannah, she's ex-Navy. She works on the oil rigs. She came. She was on the stream from the rigs.
Wow.
So everyone was all over the place. It was just amazing, and no one had to travel.
Yeah, exactly. The costs were low.
Exactly, and it's one of my favourite things because we did it on Zoom, and you can set it up to actually record the wedding. Chatting to one of my friends today who attended the live stream, and said, "Oh, it just felt so intimate." And I felt so involved because they actually got a better view than the guests.
And presumably heard everything.
They heard everything. And heard us talking beforehand when you talk to registrars about you have to do all the ID check.
The legal bit.
They were so involved. And the cards and gifts and things that just mentioned how honoured people felt to be involved in it, because not getting that opportunity at the moment to go to weddings. And one of the things that we thought of when we organised the first 150 person wedding was, oh, well, we don't really want evening guests because we want everyone to see the wedding and to be
Yeah.
included in the wedding. And for me, the most important thing about a wedding is watching the people get married.
Yeah.
Evening guests to me were never a thing. So to be able to have all of those people who ultimately, a lot of them ultimately might have ended up having to be evening guests at a wedding, they could be there for the wedding, and that was so special.
They could witness it. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that this has done, is it's meant that we've all reframed what a wedding's about, and it's actually about the marriage rather than the party, and really reevaluating the reason why we have weddings. And I think, you know, it's really, you know, it's brought the romanticism back rather than the extravagance potentially. So I think, you know, that's been really special. Now, from the photos you sent me, it looks like when people were allowed to mix, there were a few parties that people had watching together and everyone got dressed up. Is that right? All your guests?
People had, a lot of the guys had ties on and they had suit jackets and stuff. And then people were raising a glass to us. It was really nice. It was so special. A few of our friends got together, socially distancing, but got together within a house. So that was really nice. It was just, it was really special. And my friend Molly did my makeup by Molly, and she rushed back. She then went back to Brackley to watch it with a couple our friends. So that was really. She was saying, "Don't make her cry."
She wasn't there to touch it up.
So it was really nice. I just absolutely love that we could involve people in that way, and nobody minded that they couldn't come. Everybody completely understood.
I think that's one thing that people get really worried about offending people, or people, you know, getting their nose out of joint, or then causing issues later on down the line. But I think everyone's accepting of it, right?
Yeah, at the moment, everyone's just so happy for you that you're managing to get married at the moment. So
you're a rarity.
And it was just that no one was bothered that they weren't coming. They were just so happy that they could see it. Really shows the friendships that we've got. We're really lucky. And the great thing about it was as well, it was recorded, so we didn't have a videographer, which was again one of the things that I thought that I would really like. And from our wedding, we have the whole ceremony recorded, which we wouldn't have got from a videographer because they would have been recording other bits. And we have two people recorded as walking up and down the aisle. My friend recorded the speeches, and it's just, I'm just going to put that together as a video and it will be perfect.
I think that's one of the great things, you know, that the technology is on our side to allow us to have access to things that potentially, you know, had this been 20 years ago, we wouldn't have had. So we should all be so grateful that technology is allowing us to still make things accessible to each other. So no, I think, you know, thank you so much for going through all of this. I think you've been absolutely incredible, and I really love the positive energy that you put into your wedding to make sure that it wasn't a despite, it was because, you know, it was the most fabulous day, and that was intentional. And I think it's really important that other people understand that. You know, one of the reasons for me wanting to get you to come on to this live was so that the couples that are considering Sweet 15, which of course now has been put on hold for a few weeks while we're on lockdown, but you know, this is all about getting people married during lockdown. You know, you can't put life on hold forever. That's not a possibility. And we don't know how long these things are going on for, but you know, for those couples like yourselves that just want to get married, they're sick of talking about getting married, they just want to do it. Then Sweet 15 is there for them, where it's a totally scalable model. You know, if the 15 thing changes, we can change that. You know, we can get people married for whatever number the social restrictions allow on that day, with very, you know, safe deposits where you're not going to be losing your money. And I think, you know, you had a number of weddings planned, and amazingly managed to get all your deposits back through insurance, which is great. So I think, you know, once insurance does start up again, make sure that you get it, you know, and it does cover you, because you know, again, are an advocate of that having worked for you and allowing you to still have the day of your dreams without losing out in any way financially. So yeah, so I think, you know, you did this all on your own, and huge congratulations. I think when we first spoke, you were like, it would have been really nice to have someone like you sort this out though.
Definitely.
So anyone out there that's kind of umming and ahhing and, you know, would like some help, or at this point just wants to have a conversation, then I think, you know, get in touch. Let's have a discussion. Let's see how we can make it work. Let's change those negative attitudes into positive, let's get married, rather than, oh, should we, shouldn't we? And I think, you know, you've given some real pearls of wisdom for other people out there that are really trying to figure out what their plan of attack is. So thank you so much. And I know some of the people that have been watching are commenting saying how lovely it's been to hear your story. So thank you for taking this time out.
Fine. I hope that, yeah, I don't want people thinking that their wedding day is going to be despite of something horrible. It's going to be amazing. And
Exactly.
definitely just take it, just be flexible, and you'll have an amazing time.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's exactly it. We've all had to pivot. We've all had to be flexible. You name it, we're doing it. We're moving in every direction. And I think you're a huge advocate. You know, you're a huge, you know, advert for that. You've been fantastic. And I think even at the moment, you know, you're about to have your baby. When's your due date? Tell us your due date.
March the 13th.
Okay, so you've got a few more months, but Chris is away again, isn't he? So
Yeah.
you're on your own during lockdown again.
Marriage bliss.
Oh, well, I hope you've got lots of cake to still get through.
I do.
And lots of tea. And thank you so much for your time this evening, and have a fabulous weekend.
Thank you so much. Happy planning, everyone.
Yay. Take care. Bye.